Frank Ladson. If you love college football, if you watch the other teams, you probably have heard the name, even though he hasn't done anything significant on the field, just being attached to Clemson. And, of course, the evaluation coming out of high school as a top 10 receiver in the country, number 7, according to the 247 Sports Composite, a top 40 player, regardless of position. So this guy is ready to be coached up and be healthy and ready to contribute. Wow.
Hopefully, and Ladson, it was Ladson and Stevenson in high school. Well, Stevenson left Homestead and went to South Dade. I'm sorry, he went to South Ridge his senior year. While Ladson stayed there at Homestead with some other guys who were younger, like the Keyshawn Washington and Jaden Francois, who committed 17 different places 22 times. And, some of those other guys from South Dade, he stayed there. But no, he was that dude. He's 6'3", 205. He's not like had a championship winning touchdown, but you've probably seen he had one really nasty one-handed over the shoulder touchdown catch in the end zone for Clemson. You probably, so he's flashed that performance. He has battled some injuries and things like that, but he's coming down here looking to step into the role of Charleston Rambo or KJ Osborne, going into the transfer portal and getting someone who ends up being the number 1 receiver on that team. And he has a dimension of height and size that is otherwise lacking in the wide receiver room. Most of your size is going to be inside at tight end. So, you've seen KJ Osborne, who's still, crafting a very nice career for himself with the Minnesota Vikings. He came in, ended up being, the number 1 wide receiver that year, transferring in from the University of Buffalo before he gets drafted. You have Charleston Rambo, who simply came in and rewrote the record book with the most catches and most yards in a single season in Miami Hurricanes history, the storied history of the Miami Hurricanes and all of the wide receivers that you want to think about. He sits atop that list after 1 year. So now he transitions out, and then Frank Ladson's like, I'm going to come back to the crib, I'm going to play with my high school teammate, Tyreek Stevenson, all these other guys, because they all know each other in the world of, high school, prep football and everything. And personally, I'm trying to slide into that position that number 11 had, because if he was the number 1 guy, I'm trying to be that. Now, it's not going to be an easy task, because especially those freshmen turning sophomores in the wide receiver room, that Keyshawn Smith and Jacoby George, Romello Brinson, Xavier Restrepo, Brashard Smith, even if you extrapolate that out to, I think Michael Redding Jr., did he leave? He might have. I don't know, but he's might still be on the roster. I might look at that one. But, those guys are not going to give that up without a fight. Daz Wersham's still on the roster. He was an All-American in high school, rewrote the record book at Hewitt-Trussville High School. So, yeah, he did have a hip injury his senior year, which did take a while to come back from and everything. But that's another All-American 4-star recruit. So those guys are not going to just say, hey, we're going to let Frank Ladson come in here and be the number 1 wide receiver just because that's what happened with Charleston Rambo. What they're going to say to themselves is, Charleston Rambo did that last year because I needed another mango season. And even when I got out there, I made plays. Romello Brinson didn't have that many catches, but one of the catches he did have, number 1 on SportsCenter top 10, because I jumped over and around the dude and caught the ball falling down with one hand, being interfered with on the other side of my body. So you want to foul me over here, right? It's like basketball. Keep the foul. Give me the bucket because I caught that one. Give me the touchdown. Cue up the band. Let's change the scoreboard, right? So now I flashed that. I'm not flashing anything. I'm ready to step into that greatness. And if you want to come in here, Frank Ladson, and you think that you're going to step into that role, I'm going for that role. So you're going to beat me for that role. It's going to be different. But adding someone of Frank Ladson's caliber, you should be very excited about. So if you're looking, okay, maybe a bigger wide receiver who can be the X in the offense, fill in that role of a Charleston Rambo, Amon Richards, number 1 target, you can call a him play. Whatever it is, whatever your verbiage is, it's him. Throw him the ball. And if you want somebody of a bigger physical stature to try to do that, that can be Frank Ladson.
I would also think for Ladson, there would be this spark of optimism and hope, and maybe incentive would be that Clemson fell off a little bit last year for no other reason, or for the primary reason would be they couldn't throw the ball anywhere close to what they had in the past. And there were a lot of contributing factors. The offensive line's not that good. DJ wasn't nearly what they had at quarterback, and the wide receiver play wasn't great, but a lot of it was DJ. Uiagalelei wasn't what Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence was. So as a wide receiver being the most dependent position on the field, it has to be somewhat disheartening when the ball's not coming your way, because number one, you're only throwing the ball 20 or 25 times a game because you can't throw the ball. So Dabo's running the ball to win 14-10 kind of games. And number two, it's just not coming your way because your quarterback's on his back, or he's just not very good and the ball's nowhere close to you.
Listen.
And now you see what Tyler Van Dyke can do and the numbers he's putting up, and you're like, man, I want to play with that guy.
Still on the greatest statistical run of any ACC quarterback ever, with consecutive games of 300 passing yards and multiple touchdowns. That run is ongoing. It is paused because the season is over, right? So, yeah, you have all of that kind of talent, and it's very different. Like, though Tyler Van Dyke is a much more skilled passer than DJU. Talk with my friend Fred. Shout out to Fred Purdue. And DJU, he needs to see people high school open. You know, and we've talked about this. Like, he needs to see the entire jersey come clear of a window, and then I will throw the ball. There's like zero anticipation, doesn't really feel or read the defense really well. And I mean, at the higher up that you go in the game, the smaller those windows are. In high school, okay, I'm going to see the full jersey. In college, I might see half of the man. And half of the man being open, like I was talking about with that Romillo Brinson touchdown, half of me being open, that's me being open. In the NFL, you might see a fingertip, you might not, you know what I mean, even, and throw it, and that's open. You know, like the shadow of a fingernail is open in the NFL. And DJU, yeah, he's still waiting to see guys come butt naked high school open. And I mean, are you going to scheme that and eventually get, you know, a coverage breakdown here and there? Yeah, but on a general 3rd and 7, you're not going to have guys come butt naked open. And that was a major part of the issue in the passing game, just because he doesn't have that. He can't see it, which is a struggle for them. But, you know, coming here for Frank Ladson, you're going from a quarterback like that to a quarterback like Tyler Van Dyke, who can see it and can sling it with as strong, if not a stronger arm than DJU, and way better demonstrated performance over the course of, you know, the season that he played. So that has to be exciting. Like, yeah. And again, not only is it exciting that he throws the ball, but you'd say a third of the catches and 40% of the yards that Tyler Van Dyke had throwing was to Charleston Rambo, and he's going to the league. Somebody has to get those catches and yards. If you're Frank Ladson, you're thinking, why not me? If not all of that, most of that. And that's a clear step forward. So, yeah, you should be excited about that. Also be excited about Henry Parrish, because, again, if he's in the 550-yard range at Ole Miss, he's not necessarily coming here looking for 1,400 yards rushing, nor should he, because we have all these running backs. So another 550, 600-yard rushing season, and you put that with these other guys in this running offense, that would be pretty good. And, again, he's another high school blue chip. I think he might have been an All-American, but, I mean, like another blue chip player, and he's demonstrated it at Ole Miss. So you're SEC West, and you're playing against some of the best competition, not the best competition around, and doing the job. You know, so when you bring in both of those guys and bring them home to play for the Hurricanes, you should be very excited.
Trying to think what restriction was put on me in a question that was offered by a viewer this week when they asked about a college football playoff participant that had never been there. So the every year question that you hear, if there's going to be a team that's going to make the playoff that's never made the playoff, who would that be? Well, I do think that there are some other programs out there that would be a more logical response, but they put another restriction on me, and I said, Miami. I'm not predicting them to go to the playoff. I just think that the potential is coming to form pretty quickly here.
Yeah.